There comes a moment in life when effort feels endless and results feel distant. You apply, you wait, you hope, and you hear nothing. Silence begins to feel like rejection, and delay starts to feel like failure. But what if this season is not about finding a job at all? What if it is about finding direction? God does not work only through positions and titles. He works through purpose. A job can provide income, but purpose provides meaning. When you focus only on searching for a job, you may miss the preparation God is doing within you. Sometimes God pauses the process not to deny you provision, but to reposition you for something greater. Many people rush into opportunities simply because they are available, but availability does not equal alignment. God is more concerned with where you are going than where you are earning. He sees the future impact of your life, not just the immediate need. When doors do not open easily, it may be because the door you are knocking on is too small for what He intends to place in your hands. Waiting is uncomfortable, but it is often intentional. In the waiting, God develops character, discipline, and vision. He strengthens what will sustain you when success arrives. Without preparation, blessings can become burdens. God does not delay to frustrate you. He delays to fortify you. There are seasons where God shifts your focus from chasing opportunities to becoming prepared for them. He may be teaching you skills, sharpening your mindset, or redirecting your passion. What feels like stillness is often strategy. What feels like loss of momentum is often divine recalibration. A job can be taken away, but purpose cannot. God's plan for your life is not dependent on human approval or economic conditions. He is able to create opportunities where none existed. He is able to open doors no one applied for. He is able to provide in ways that do not fit traditional paths. Sometimes God withholds employment to reveal assignment. He wants you to discover what you are called to contribute, not just what you are willing to accept. When you align with purpose, provision follows, not always immediately, but always intentionally. Fear often pressures people to settle early. Bills, expectations, and comparison can push you into roles that drain you. God's guidance often requires patience because it protects your future. What you accept today can determine how far you go tomorrow. God's bigger plan may involve growth before gain. It may involve learning before earning. It may involve service before success. These stages are not punishment, they are preparation. God builds foundations before He builds platforms. When you stop striving anxiously and start trusting intentionally, clarity begins to emerge. Trust does not mean inactivity. It means working faithfully while remaining open to redirection. It means seeking wisdom rather than rushing decisions. It means believing that your worth is not defined by employment status. God's plan often exceeds what you imagined. He may lead you toward purpose-driven work, creative paths, leadership, or service that impacts others. These paths require courage, faith, and patience. They rarely appear overnight, but they endure longer than temporary positions. Do not interpret delay as denial. Silence does not mean absence. God is active even when unseen. He is arranging connections, developing capacity, and aligning timing. When His plan unfolds, it often makes sense of every closed door that came before. Your life is more than a job search. Your calling is larger than a resume. God's plan for you is intentional, purposeful, and meaningful. When you trust His timing and remain faithful in preparation, what He brings will not just sustain you, it will fulfill you. When people hear the words, "stop searching for a job," it can sound irresponsible or unrealistic. Bills still need to be paid, responsibilities still exist, and the pressure to survive is real. But this message is not about abandoning effort. It is about shifting dependence. Too often, work becomes the source of identity, security, and worth. When that happens, fear begins to control decisions. The first key truth is that provision does not originate from a job, it flows from God. A job is only a channel, and channels can change at any time. Many people spend their lives chasing opportunities out of anxiety rather than purpose. They apply everywhere, accept anything, and compromise peace just to feel secure. This constant striving creates exhaustion, disappointment, and comparison. God never intended his people to live driven by panic. When effort is rooted in fear, it leads to burnout. When effort is rooted in trust, it leads to alignment. There are seasons when God allows doors to remain closed, not to punish, but to redirect. Rejection is painful, especially when it repeats. But rejection does not mean abandonment. It often means protection. God sees environments that would drain you, relationships that would limit you, and paths that would delay your calling. When he closes a door, he is not removing provision, he is preserving purpose. Many people unknowingly make work their God. They pray for peace, but worship security. They ask for direction, but cling to control. God sometimes interrupts job searches to realign priorities, not because work is unimportant, but because trust is more important. He wants dependence to rest on him, not on systems that can collapse overnight. A bigger plan often requires a deeper foundation. Before God expands influence, he strengthens character. Before he increases income, he clarifies identity. If identity is tied only to employment, success will create pride and loss will create despair. God wants his people stable in who they are, not in what they do. There are moments when God calls people to pause, not to be idle, but to listen. In silence, direction becomes clearer. In waiting, motives are exposed. Waiting reveals whether the heart is seeking God or merely seeking relief. This waiting is not wasted time, it is preparation time. When the search for a job becomes the center of life, identity slowly begins to shrink. Worth gets tied to applications, interviews, and responses that may never come. The pressure to secure something, anything, can push people into decisions driven by fear rather than purpose. Yet there are seasons when the absence of a job is not a lack of direction, but an invitation to preparation. God often uses waiting seasons not to deny progress, but to deepen capacity. Preparation is rarely glamorous. It does not come with applause or immediate validation. It often looks like obscurity, routine, and repetition. In these seasons, nothing appears to be happening on the outside, yet everything is being formed on the inside. Character is refined, discipline is built, perspective is adjusted. God prepares people privately before positioning them publicly. Many people ask for opportunity without developing readiness. They pray for open doors, but resist the process that prepares them to walk through those doors with wisdom. A bigger plan requires a stronger foundation. Without preparation, promotion can become pressure rather than blessing. God's delay is often protection from being elevated before being equipped. Skills are sharpened in seasons of waiting. Time that feels wasted can be invested. Learning, growth, and refinement happen when urgency is replaced with intention. God often redirects focus from chasing positions to developing purpose. What is built during preparation lasts longer than what is obtained quickly. Preparation also reshapes motivation. When work is pursued only for survival, fulfillment remains elusive. God's plan aligns work with calling rather than desperation. Waiting seasons clarify values. They reveal what truly matters and what was pursued out of fear. This clarity prevents future compromise. Obedience during preparation matters more than visibility. Faithfulness in small, unseen tasks builds trust. God observes consistency when no one else is watching. This faithfulness prepares the heart to handle responsibility with humility rather than entitlement. A bigger plan requires stewardship, not just skill. Waiting exposes reliance. When security is removed, dependence becomes clear. Some people discover that their trust was in income rather than in God. Preparation seasons realign trust. They teach reliance on provision rather than position. This shift creates peace that is not tied to employment status. God often uses preparation to heal internal patterns. Impatience, insecurity, comparison, and fear surface when progress slows. These patterns, if left unaddressed, can sabotage future opportunities. Waiting becomes a mirror. It reveals areas that need healing before advancement. Preparation also changes perspective on success. Success becomes obedience rather than achievement, faithfulness rather than speed, growth rather than recognition. This redefinition protects the heart from disappointment and burnout later. God's plan prioritizes sustainability over speed. During preparation, guidance becomes clearer. Noise fades. The pressure to impress decreases. Listening improves. Direction emerges not through urgency, but through stillness. God often speaks most clearly when striving stops. Opportunities that come without preparation often demand what the person cannot sustain. But opportunities aligned with God's timing come with grace. The wait matches the strength developed during waiting. The responsibility aligns with the capacity built quietly. Preparation is not punishment. It is investment. God does not withhold purpose. He develops it. The waiting season is not evidence of failure, but confirmation of intention. What is being formed now will support what is entrusted later. Those who embrace preparation stop chasing validation and start cultivating alignment. They stop measuring progress by external milestones and start recognizing internal growth. This shift produces confidence that does not depend on titles. When the time comes, preparation reveals its value. The transition feels natural rather than forced. The opportunity fits. The responsibility does not overwhelm. The position becomes an extension of growth rather than a shock. God's bigger plan is not rushed. It is intentional. Preparation ensures that when the door opens, the person walking through it is not just qualified, but ready. When God redirects your focus away from constant job searching, it is not because work is unimportant, but because identity is. Many people tie their worth, peace, and future entirely to a job title or paycheck. When that becomes the center, fear begins to lead decisions. God's bigger plan begins by shifting identity from what you do to who you are becoming. Before assignment comes alignment. A job can provide income, but it cannot define purpose. Purpose is deeper than employment. It is the reason your gifts exist at all. God is more interested in developing character, vision, and capacity than placing you quickly into something that limits you. If you enter the wrong position too early, it can drain your energy, distort your values, and delay what you were truly created to do. God protects purpose by controlling timing. Many seasons of waiting feel like stagnation, but they are actually seasons of preparation. God often uses these moments to expand your thinking beyond survival. When the pressure to just get something is removed, vision has space to grow. New ideas emerge, skills develop, confidence matures. God is not wasting time. He is building foundation. Searching endlessly for a job can shrink vision to immediate needs only. God's plan often stretches beyond employment into calling, influence, and long-term impact. What He is preparing may not fit into a traditional role. It may require growth, learning, and faith before it becomes visible. God thinks generationally, not urgently. There are moments when God withholds opportunities to force clarity. If every door opened easily, discernment would not develop. Waiting teaches listening. It teaches dependence. It teaches trust. These lessons are essential for handling greater responsibility later. Without them, success becomes dangerous. God's bigger plan often involves transformation before placement. Mindset must change before environment changes. Habits must align before opportunity arrives. A new season cannot function with old thinking. God reshapes priorities so that when opportunity comes, it does not overwhelm or corrupt. Some people are delayed because God is rerouting them away from cycles they would repeat. Without interruption, the same patterns would continue: dissatisfaction, burnout, frustration. God breaks the cycle by pausing momentum. That pause is mercy, not punishment. Purpose-driven paths often begin quietly. They may not come with immediate recognition or stability, but they carry peace. God's plan aligns with inner conviction, not external pressure. When you move in alignment, even difficulty feels meaningful. God also uses this season to reveal gifts that were dormant. When identity is no longer tied to a job description, creativity awakens. Skills you never explored begin to surface. Passions clarify. These discoveries often point toward what God is building next. Trusting God's bigger plan requires releasing comparison. Watching others advance while you wait can be painful, but different assignments require different timelines. What looks like delay may be customization. God tailors preparation according to calling. Provision is not limited to employment. God sustains through unexpected channels. This teaches that source matters more than method. Jobs are methods. God is the source. When this truth settles, fear loses power. God's plan also protects integrity. Rushing into anything out of desperation often leads to compromise. God values alignment over speed. He would rather delay than place you where you must constantly negotiate your values. Eventually, clarity replaces confusion. The waiting season gives way to movement, but the movement is different. It is intentional, peaceful, and aligned. You step forward, not chasing stability, but walking in purpose. God's bigger plan does not always eliminate work. It redefines it. Work becomes expression, not identity. Income becomes provision, not validation. Effort becomes stewardship, not survival. When God says stop searching, He is saying start trusting, start preparing, start listening. The pause is not absence, it is intention. And when the next door opens, it will not just be a job, it will be a step into what you were truly prepared for. What you are facing right now is not a delay, and it is not a denial, it is a redirection. God has not asked you to stop because He has forgotten you, but because He is positioning you for something greater than what you were searching for. When doors close, it is often because a different path is being prepared, one that cannot be accessed through fear, hurry, or human logic alone. Your worth was never meant to be defined by a title, a paycheck, or approval from people. Your value was established long before applications were sent and interviews were attended. When you trust God beyond what you can see, you allow Him to work beyond what you can imagine. What feels uncertain now is simply the space where faith is meant to grow. This season is not about lack, it is about alignment. It is about learning to listen, to trust, and to move when God says move, not when pressure demands action. When the time is right, clarity will replace confusion, and purpose will replace panic. What God has planned will not require you to force doors open. It will come with peace, provision, and confirmation. Do not measure your future by this moment. Lift your eyes beyond the temporary and trust the one who sees the full picture. The same God who closed one door is already preparing another, bigger, better, and perfectly timed. And when it opens, you will understand why you had to wait.